Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha. Om Tare Tu Re. Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha. Om Tare Tu Re. Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha. Om Tare Tu Re. Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha.
Hello, everyone. I'm so delighted that today we can get together again on Lama Life livestream event of Lama Sultrim Alione. My name is Drimé and I'm connecting with you all the way from Poland. And what's your name? And where are you joining us from? Please use chat to share. I also extend a warm welcome to those of you who are watching the recording of this gathering later. Hello, hello. Today's episode features a fantastic guest teacher. Pieter Oosthuizen is a teacher and a longtime student of Tibetan Buddhism. He has been teaching various practices and retreats in Lama Sultrim's lineage in the US and abroad since 2006, offering a blend of incisive insight and genuine compassion. He serves as the president of the Mandala board and as the director of the Feeding Your Demons online program. In addition to Lama Sultrim Alione, Pieter studied with Namkhai Norbu Rinpoche, Lama Tarchin Rinpoche, Adzon Pelo Rinpoche, and others. He is also the founder of Celsius Biointelligence, a skincare company. Pieter is from South Africa, where he received a business degree and graduated from law school. Pieter lives with his wife, Lopon Charlotte Rotterdam, and their sons, Matteo and Milan, outside of Boulder, Colorado. At the end of our gathering, you will have the opportunity to make an offering of dana to Pieter in gratitude for our time together, and I will talk more about it towards the end. Before I turn it over to Pieter, I'd like to share with you two of the numerous exciting programs being offered by Mandala in the near future, both of which honor the figure of the 11th century Tibetan Yogini, Machig Labdrön, and her powerful teachings. In the upcoming virtual retreat with Lama Sarah Harding, over the course of 4 days, we will delve into the great bundle of precepts on severance, which may be the earliest teaching on Chi attributed to Machig Labdrön, while also referencing one of its earliest commentaries, the outline and complete explanation by Rangjug Dorje, the third Karmapa. These teachings will provide a rich and deep support for anyone interested in this practice. The historical background and context in which this remarkable practice developed will be also provided. This program begins very soon on September 22nd. Then, on October 2nd, you are invited to join the online course with Lopon Charlotte Rotterdam and Pieter Oosthuizen called Skymind, where you can engage with a deep experiential dive into the heart of Machig's teachings as a pathway to reconnect with the luminous ground of being. The sessions will include teachings, reflections, and discussions on several of Machig's verses drawn from source texts. Lopon Charlotte and Pieter will guide contemplations to bring these profound instructions to bear on everyday life, engage various progressive methods for cultivating attention, and introduce Skymind practice to access and support open awareness, resting the mind in its natural expanse. Both of these programs are really open to all, as they will support both the experienced practitioners and the beginning meditators. I will post links in the chat in a moment so you can learn a little more about these offerings. But one final thing, it's also my great pleasure to remind you that day by day, we come closer to the birthday celebration of Lama Tsultrim Allione. And isn't that wonderful that we can be together with our teacher on Zoom on November 5th and have an opportunity to celebrate Lama's life of practice in this beautiful way? Please do join us. And in order to register, just click on the link in the chat I will post in a moment. And now, in your hearts, please give a warm welcome to our guest teacher today, Pieter Oosthuizen. Thank you, Pieter.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, Drimé, and for holding this and everything you do. We really appreciate you. And if you're joining us today, or if you just checked in, linger a little bit, and let's begin by taking a moment to just come present in this moment. Simple presence in the present moment. And let's raise our motivation so that this time together doesn't only benefit us, but that it may go out and benefit all beings everywhere, specifically in this time of strife and conflict. This significant day, September 11, we take the benefit of practice and of doing the Feeding Your Demons process that we're going to be doing today. We take that benefit, but we also open our hearts and share it out to those that we come most closely in contact with, and to all beings everywhere. Thank you. So as I just mentioned in that Bodhicitta, raising of Bodhicitta, I want to talk about feeding your demons today. And Drimé was just mentioning a few programs, but we also have the online Feeding Your Demons program that is upcoming and will start on September 17th. And that program is an online program where you will watch videos of Lama Tsultrim giving the core teachings of Feeding Your Demons. And I'll say more about Feeding Your Demons, obviously, in a moment. But you watch videos of her giving core teachings. And then there's a live component where we do live webcasts and discussion forums and so forth. And what makes this course special is Lama Tsultrim will actually also be hosting 2 of those live webcasts in this upcoming Feeding Your Demons course. But more about that later. Feeding Your Demons is this process that was created by Lama Tsultrim that is a modality to really work with our obstacles and challenges. It's a skillful way of really turning towards and skillfully engage with those afflictions, everyday life, or more specifically, things that happen in our life that really can throw us off kilter. And so it's a process that is based on a practice that was formalized in the 11th century by Machig Labdrön, this 11th century Yogini, Tibetan Yogini. And she is credited with formalizing this practice of C-H-O-D, with an umlaut on the O. That really means cutting. And really what is referenced here is cutting through ego clinging. Cutting through ego clinging. And perhaps we'll say a little more as we continue today and we say more about this practice of feeding your demons. But the feeding your demons practice that Lama Tsultrim developed is loosely based on the principles of Cho. And there's also some aspects of modern psychology, Gestalt, as well as Jungian shadow work or Jungian psychology in there. And so let's talk a little bit about that. Why feeding your demons? Why do we need a modality or a way of working with our afflictions? So in everyday life, things tend to come up. Even if we are basically happy and things are going well, there are unexpected trials and tribulations that come up in our personal life. We may just have a bad day, but we could also go through a breakup or a divorce or be diagnosed with a serious disease. That on a collective level, there are all kinds of things going on in the world. Today is September 11th, so we remember that, what happened in New York City on September 11th, which is an event that impacts so many people. You could be going on with your life and feel generally happy, but collectively there are these major societal events that have impact on our lives. Environmental degradation, conflict and war that's going on right now. There are probably several wars going on right now, apart from just the European land war that we all know about. So, the pandemic, we just hopefully coming through COVID, and it's still enduring. And so how do we work with these afflictions? How do we work with these things that come on our path? And so how do we regulate? Most of us have developed ways of working with our own emotions to try and stabilize and regulate when we go through a difficult time or when we're impacted by these global events. But most of us also would like to find better ways of doing that. It remains a challenge. And so maybe from an absolute point of view, the practice or the refuge, is to really relax, to realize our interconnectedness with all things. That the nature of our mind is not actually disconnected from everything that we perceive around us. And that there's a specific dynamic through perception, through us perceiving phenomenal world as being outside of ourselves, where we contract into our individual self. And that contraction, that separation that happens is actually the root of a lot of our in fact, all of our neuroses, all of our struggles, in a way, from a Buddhist point of view. And so the solution there is to practice through our meditation practice to actually access that vast nature of our own minds through the doorway of our own awareness, our own cognition. We rest back into that awareness that is also connected to all phenomena. It's the ground, the vast luminous ground of being from which everything radiates. But it's easy to say that, and then something happens, something that's so compelling and so distracting and so wrenching emotionally. And then to say, well, just rest in the nature of your mind seems difficult to access, seems like a panacea. And so we need ways of actually engaging with our difficult emotions on a daily level, on a daily basis, right? And so generally what tends to happen when something happens, our knee-jerk reaction, most of us, is to want to turn away from that which we find unpleasant. We want to contract or turn away. There's a kind of a deeply conditioned avoidance, tendency to avoid, at least if speaking for myself. If we just get a whiff of something that we feel will be an unpleasant experience, emotionally or otherwise, we tend to want to avoid it. I mean, and it's natural, right? We avoid dangers in everyday life. We don't put our hands in the fire and so forth because we want comfort, and we want to preserve ourselves, first of all, and then we want some kind of comfort, right? So we're not going to seek out difficulty in general. We condition that way, and it's natural and healthy. But what also happens is, whereas that is extremely helpful for, to maintain our physical body, to avoid danger and so forth, from an emotional point of view, it sometimes can get us into trouble, because the more we avoid, we can't avoid unpleasant sensations. At some point, those demons under the surface in our psyche, they're still there. And we get into a pattern of suppression, of reflexive avoidance, of not turning towards and not actually meeting that which scares us. And this is really what Feeding Your Demons encourages us to do. It's a skillful methodology, a skillful modality to turn towards that which we want to shrink back from, that which we tend to avoid. Unpleasant emotions, avoid. And then it gets us into a posture of avoidance, which in itself is a kind of a suffering. We're not actually even engaging with the difficult issue itself. We are locked in an avoidance posture, kind of like this. It's there, but we're not looking at it, and we're not really acknowledging. So we're in this posture. This doesn't look really comfortable, right? We are in a posture of avoidance. And so again, this is inviting us to turn towards. So Machig Labdrön, whom I had mentioned, Machig Labdrön is the 11th century Yogini who formalized the Che practice, which is the root of this Feeding Your Demons practice that we're going to do. So I'm talking about it a little bit just to give you a bit of a preview, but I'm also going to lead you through the practice of Feeding Your Demons, through the process. So I invite you to stay for a while and actually experience this, the transformational qualities of this process. But so Machig, who formalized the Che practice, on which this Feeding Your Demons practice is loosely based, she wrote these incredible pith verses or instructions, and I'm going to share just a couple with you that relates very much to this issue of turning towards that which afflicts us rather than turning away. The first verse there and this was written in the 11th century, says, "The defining characteristic of mind is to be primordially empty like space." The defining characteristic of mind is to be primordially empty like space. The realization of the nature of mind includes all phenomena without exception. The realization of the nature of mind includes all phenomena without exception. So what does this mean? So we can look at the first part, right? The defining characteristic of mind is to be primordially empty like space. The ground of being is vast and luminous and beyond concept. And out of that, everything manifests. Out of that radiance. So we could say the defining characteristic of our mind is empty, like space, like that vast luminous emptiness out of which everything comes forth. But that would say that what we are experiencing here is somehow not real or true, or is just not that important, that the ground is really where it's at. But she says no. The realization of this empty nature of our minds includes all phenomena without exception. This is an invitation, a clue, that what we are experiencing, what so-called relative experience that we're having on a daily basis, the direct experience of our own emotions and so forth, is not other than It's not other than some more profound way of being, out of samsara, and some place where we free of any kind of distraction or reality, dualistic reality. It actually is saying that this ground is manifest in all phenomena, and that by turning away from phenomena, and from occurrences and from difficult emotions, we are splitting ourselves. We are splitting off from the totality of what is really our nature, the nature of our mind. And so there's this encouragement to open to the totality rather than to compartmentalize and split off and avoid. So this view of feeding your demons, turn to where everything is included. Now you could say, but how do we do that? Right? And here again, it's not our small contracted self turning to the difficulty and trying to load one more trouble on our back and slogging along. It has to do with a relaxation into the nature of our minds. We are relaxing into opening our hearts vulnerably and wide and courageously. In direct relation to all things, to totality. And by virtue of doing that, it has its own resourcing. By virtue of resting back in our own awareness, there's actually a capacity that arises because it is our nature, and our nature is vast. We also end up connecting with the capacity to open our hearts as wide as the world. We are able to do that. Why? Because it is our nature, our very nature. So it's a little bit of a catch-22. It feels like so difficult to open to the reality of the wars and pandemics and environmental degradation. What do we do with all of these things? But in the opening to that, we find the capacity to do it. We can actually open our hearts wide enough. And of course, we practice. We don't have to leap into that, like leaping off the cliff into everything that scares us and all these overwhelming things and all the pain and suffering of the world. No, we can do it bit by bit through our practice, through doing feeding your demons, but also through our meditation practice, practicing to come to align with our own awareness, that which is experiencing everything. We can rest back into that. Here's another verse from Machig that is very similar, I think. She says, and this could be scary from a contracted small self point of view, but from the expanded large self, listen to this from that larger self, that vast resourced self. She says, carry the load of appearing conditions. Carry the load of appearing conditions. If you don't carry the load of all phenomena, the remedy of peace and happiness can't liberate you. Carry the load of appearing conditions. If you don't carry the load of all phenomena, the remedy of peace and happiness can't liberate you. This is pretty radical. She's not only saying open to everything, carry the load of all phenomena, but she's saying actually if you don't do that, the remedy of meditation or the remedy of any of these remedies the remedy of peace and happiness cannot liberate you. So it's through, not around or in spite of everything and our own suffering. Our own suffering is included in this. It's through that we actually liberate. Through opening to that, that's how we realize. Is by expanding our awareness, our world, include more and more. And again, we're not doing it like, there's this image of Atlas. Maybe you've seen, that, the myth, the story of Atlas, or you've seen that sculpture in New York, Atlas carrying the globe, the earth, on his back, but he's carrying the whole world and kind of being weighed down by it. So that's not what we're being asked here to do. Carry the load in the way where we are being crushed, with our small capacity, by taking on all these wars and suffering and poverty and the things that we may seem, gender issues that we may see as being problems in the world on a collective level or just on a personal level. All our own afflictions, the things that happen with and to us, relationships, our own health, and so forth. We're not being asked just load it on until we're crushed by this. No. We are being asked to open our hearts and our minds. We're being asked to really rest back into our very own nature, as I've said. And through that, we can actually open to the vastness and be with all of that. That's what she's saying. Carry the load of all phenomena. And so when we do that, that gives rise to true self-arising compassion. That's how we access true compassion. Not through feeling sorry for, or I have privilege, therefore I should help others. All of those are fine, noble intentions. And if it spurs us to action to help, then wonderful. But this kind of heart opening, vulnerable, courageous heart opening to our own issues, but also to the world, and holding it in the big view, being with it, not turning away, that gives rise to natural self-arising compassion. Because when we realize the true interconnectedness of all things, and us in that, we cannot help but have compassion. It arises by itself as a natural result of opening our hearts to the world. So the transition to leading you, so I'm inviting you to allow me to lead you through this process of feeding your demons. So if you've done it before, then you know this process, but I invite you to take this as an opportunity to work with something there's always something going on, either on a personal level or on a collective level, something that you're concerned about, something that's going on, something that gets your emotions, some kind of strong emotion going. So pick something that has been up for you lately. And if you've never done this process, then this is a wonderful opportunity to experience the feeding your demons process. And it's simple. I'll lead you through it. And I'm asking you just logistically to set up 2 seats. And you start in whichever one of those 2 seats. And those 2 seats are facing each other. Either, cushion on the floor, or you're sitting in chairs. And actually take the trouble to do this. I know I'm asking you, and you don't really have to do this, of course, but it really does enhance the process if you can physically switch places upon my invitation. So I'll invite you, I'll say, okay, please switch to the other seat. And so then you just switch and you face yourself when you're in the other seat. And I'll tell you exactly when that takes place. So, okay, so we're transitioning to doing the feeding your demons process. You're sitting in a seat that is facing another seat. And I'm going to ask you to keep your eyes closed as much as possible throughout the process. And also, now again, invite you to think about something you want to work with. Think about, again, something that has been up for you lately, you feel like is taking your energy or diminishing you or bothering you or something that you are constantly preoccupied with or even obsessed with. Just think about what you want to work with, some issue that has been challenging for you. And then we're going to start just with simple relaxation breaths. It's the beginning of the process. Really, these breaths are primarily about completely becoming present in the moment and relaxing. So first, breathe into any physical tension you are holding in your body. And then hook that tension with your breath and release it on the out breath. We'll just do 3 natural deep breaths. Breathing into any physical tension in your body and hooking that with the breath and letting it ride out on the out breath. Now breathe into any emotional tension you are holding. Notice where you are holding emotional tension in your body. And then hooking that tension with the breath, release it with the out breath. Now breathe into any mental tension or worries, distractions you're holding. Notice where you're holding this tension in your body. And then hooking that tension with the breath, release it with the out breath. Now let's generate together a heartfelt motivation again, that we're practicing for the benefit not only of ourselves, but also for the benefit of all beings. Especially on this day and in this time. Now I want to invite you to think about the issue or the demon, so-called demon that you have chosen to work with. When I invited you, or if you haven't, decide on something you want to work with today, something challenging in your life, something that you can really feel into and evoke in your body and in your mind, and emotionally. And so when you think of this issue, perhaps remember a particular time or incident when it came up strongly for you. So you can really feel into it, and then scan your body and locate where you are holding this demon most strongly in your body. If you can't find it in your body, imagine where it would be if you could find it in your body. And so as soon as you've found this, notice the characteristics of this demon in your body, this issue. And so notice, where is the demon held in your body? What is its shape? What is its color? What is its texture? And what is its temperature, if any? Now intensify this sensation in your body and allow this shape in your body to move out of your body and to become personified in front of you as a being with limbs, a face, eyes, and so on. So this being is coming forth from this place in your body, and it's taking shape on the cushion or the seat in front of you. And just see this demon, this being, clearly in front of you. And then notice these things, the characteristics of this being in the seat across from you. Notice what size it is. What is its color? What is the surface of its body like? What is its density? Does it have a gender? What is its character like? And its emotional state? What is the look in its eyes? And if you haven't previously seen eyes, imagine if it had eyes, what would be the look in its eyes? And now notice something about it that you didn't see before, something that you did not see before. So now ask the demon the following questions one by one after me. What do you want? Just asking this question clearly, not waiting for any answer at this point. What do you want? What do you really need? How will you feel when you get what you really need? So as soon as you've asked those questions, I want to invite you to switch places, physically switch to the seat across from you, keeping your eyes closed as much as possible. So now as you're switching, take a moment to settle into the demon's body and feel what it's like to be the demon. What is it like to be that being? What does it feel like? how does your normal self look from the demon's point of view? How does your normal self look from the demon's point of view? So now you're going to answer the questions that have been asked, speaking as the demon. I will say the beginning of each answer, and then you repeat the beginning and complete the answer. And you can do this out loud. What I want is, what I want is, what I really need is, this is the need underneath the want, the deeper need. What I really need is, when I get what I really need, I will feel. When I get what I really need, I will feel. How will you feel if you get what you really need? When I get what I really need, I will feel. And please take note of this feeling that the demon says it will have if it gets what it really needs, because we will use it again later on. Take note of this feeling. When I get what I really need, I will feel. And as soon as you have this feeling, I want to invite you to return to your original seat. So you're physically switching back to your original seat. And as you do that, take a moment to settle back into your own body. And again, see the demon opposite you. And now you can dissolve your body into a nectar that has the quality of this feeling that the demon had said it would have if it got what it needed. That feeling is the essence of this nectar. You may also imagine that there is an infinite supply of this nectar, this feeling flowing through you from a universal source. An infinite supply flowing through you to the demon. And so you notice the color of this nectar. And then you feed the demon this nectar. And you notice how the demon takes it in. And make sure the demon is taking in this nectar in whichever way it wishes. And so you're going to feed the demon to its complete satisfaction. So there's an infinite supply of this nectar that flows to the demon and nurtures it to complete satisfaction. So take your time here And make sure the demon is fed to its complete satisfaction. If you're not sure whether it is completely satisfied, you can offer it more nectar in order to make sure it is completely satisfied. So an infinite supply of nectar is flowing through you to the demon and nurturing it to complete satisfaction. Feeding the demon to its complete satisfaction. Once the demon is completely satisfied, and if your demon is not satisfied at this point, you may imagine what it would look like if it was completely satisfied. So either your demon is completely satisfied, or you're imagining what it would look like if it was completely satisfied. And so depending on your process, either there is a being still present after the demon is satisfied, and if that is the case, if there is a being present after the demon has been satisfied, ask that being, are you an ally? Are you an ally to me? If there's no being present, you can invite an ally to appear. A third entity, a third being to appear as your ally. So if the being that is present says that it is not the ally, if you had a being present and you asked and it says it's not the ally, then invite an ally to appear. So either way, either the being in front of you has said that it is the ally, in which case it's your ally, or you've invited an ally. So focus your attention on this ally that is in front of you. And so notice the following characteristics of this ally. Notice what size it is. What is its color? What is the surface of its body like? What is its density? And does it have a gender? What is its character like? And what is its emotional state? Notice what is the look in its eyes. And then notice something about it that you didn't see before. Notice something about it that you didn't see before. So now we're going to ask the ally these following questions. Repeat the questions out loud, one by one, after me. How will you help me? How will you protect me? What pledge do you make to me? How can I access you? As soon as you've asked those questions, I want to invite you to switch places again and to become the ally. So once you've switched, take a moment to settle into the ally's body. And notice what it feels like. What does it feel like to be in the ally's body? Now again, how does your normal self look from the ally's point of view? Now, speaking as the ally, you're going to answer the questions that had been asked. I will say the beginning of each answer, and you repeat the beginning and then complete the answer. I will help you by. I will help you by. I will protect you by. I pledge that I will. I pledge that I will, or I commit to. And you can access me by. You can access me by. Now, return to your original seat again, one final time. Take a moment, once you've switched, to settle back into your own body and to see the ally opposite you. So you're seeing the ally in front of you, look into its eyes, and then feel its energy pouring into your body. As you feel the energy of the ally coming into your body, it spreads all the way down to the soles of your feet, to your fingertips, throughout your entire body. And now imagine that the ally dissolves into light. And notice the color of this light. And then feel this light dissolving into you, integrating this luminosity into every cell of your body. And then take note of the feeling of this integrated energy of the ally in your body. And now you, with this integrated energy of the ally, dissolve. And now rest. Rest in the state that is present after the dissolution. Just rest. Now gradually come back to your body, recalling the feeling of the energy of the ally in your body. And now as you open your eyes, maintain the feeling of the energy of the ally in your body. So take it easy. Hopefully this process was helpful and transformative. Take it easy for this to integrate through the rest of your day or evening. And if it was particularly significant, maybe even through the following few days. So before we finish today, I just want to address a few questions that have been submitted, that have been asked, that interestingly enough, really, I feel relates to the topic, our topic of discussion, to feeding your demons and what I was talking about earlier. The first question from Montreal, Canada, says, can you elaborate on spiritual bypassing? I feel like that's what I'm doing while practicing feeding your demons. Spiritual bypassing. So what is spiritual bypassing? This idea that, we just rest kind of in the nature of mind and everything is good. It's all good. Whenever affliction arises or difficulty arises, we say, oh, it's not a problem. I'm just resting in the nature of mind, or just, meditating and everything is okay. It's all good. But there's a kind of you probably noticed there's actually an avoidance. This is like the for those of you who know the 5 wisdom families, this is the Buddha family neurosis of ignorance. you think you're resting in vast space, but actually you are doing it in spite of what's going on, instead of to the inclusion of everything that's going on. And so feeding your demons is actually, I think, is actually a tool to cut through spiritual bypassing rather than a tool that causes spiritual bypassing. Why am I saying that? Because feeding your demons is all about turning towards that which afflicts you, that which you tend to want to avoid. You're not turning away and creating a little bubble of peace over here in spite of what's going on in the world. No, you're actually acknowledging what's going on in your own psyche and in the world, the larger world out there. You're completely acknowledging, you're completely opening to that, or practicing, conditioning yourself to be more inclined to turn towards it over time, at least. Even maybe you don't, like I said, you don't have to jump over the cliff. You don't have to take it all on, but you trying to condition yourself to turn towards rather than reflexively turning away. And spiritual bypassing is like the culmination of complete avoidance. Whereas feeding your demons is actually inviting us to know we're turning towards our demons. We're not suppressing them and we're not avoiding them. We're actually turning our attention with as much compassion and generosity that we can muster. We're turning towards them and saying, what do you really want? What is your wisdom? What can I learn? How can I show up? How can I be present, more present for what's going on, even the difficulty in my life? So I think it's actually an antidote to spiritual bypassing. As soon as you find yourself avoiding, that's like a red flag for spiritual bypassing. It's easier to avoid, of course. We create a small, safe world for ourselves. That's kind of what the ego, that's very much, if we leave the ego up to its own devices, it tends to want to do that. Everything that works for itself maintains that maximum comfort, maximum avoidance. But this is actually saying, no, that's not really, that's a relative refuge. That refuge is not actually going to carry us through real difficulty or at the time of death or when we really have to show up and open up. So I think it's an antidote. Another question that also I think relates. Sometimes I get confused with traditional teachings on impermanence and the disadvantages of samsara, because I start feeling that everything in worldly life is pointless, and I feel discouraged in developing qualities that would be considered worldly, I guess. But then I also feel that by developing good qualities in worldly life, one could be of more benefit to others, especially at the level I'm at. Could you talk about your approach to those teachings? Is motivation what really matters? So I think the key, the core of this question is, looking at the world and saying, oh, it's all impermanent and it's all samsara, it's worldly. But if we do that, then we feel like somehow this is not worth investing in, and that this is all just impermanent and not so important, and that we really should bank on the true reality, which is somehow behind this reality. And through our meditation and so forth, we aspire to become enlightened and to go into nirvana and so forth. And those are valid things, but it needs a little bit of context. Impermanence, the benefit, the lesson of impermanence is to remind us that things are not as solid and permanent as what they seem, and so our world is not as concrete, and so those dualities that we tend to go towards, like good and bad, happy and sad, is not actually as established as we tend to see it. And there's actually good news in that, right? Meaning everything changes all the time. It's in flux, constant flux. And when we actually relax into that, it puts us closer to what I've been talking about in this last hour. It puts us more in touch with our nature, which is actually connected with everything, and which is really part of the all good that is arising and manifesting as phenomena. From the relative point of view, it manifests as good and evil. We can see that, but that is a relative view that's based on this manifestation as a separate self. But in fact, everything arises from the same ground. So there's a kind of an equanimity, an equalness that we can rest in. But that doesn't mean that this reality is somehow meaningless and wrong or worldly. This reality, as I said earlier, carry the load of all phenomena. This reality is the manifestation of the ground of being. And through the experience of phenomena and this reality, the dance of this life, the joys of this, through this is how we experience our own nature. This is a particularly engaging, compelling dance of celebrating our life, our inherent wisdom and intelligence, the intelligence and wisdom that is actually behind this entire display that we are very much a part of and interacting with. So we experience the vastness of creation and of everything through engaging in reality. This is the dance. We are here. We did show up. We are at the right place at the right time. There's nowhere else to go. We just have to relax into realizing that this is the display of our own mind and not get so caught up in limited views or contracted views of like life and death, and I have to do this just right so that I can liberate. Liberation is in realizing that the display is impermanent, but yet profound, completely profound. And we rest in that. And then again, we have compassion for all beings and for everything that's going on as it goes on. So again, we don't have to reject the world. We actually become more engaged, but it's the view behind it, the view with which we engage. Not the life and death dualistic struggle, but a vast open heart and mind that we practice to inhabit through meditation, through awareness practice, open awareness practice. And then just one final answer or question, and then I think we should close for the day. This is from Budapest, Hungary. I'm afraid that when I practice on my own, the most uncomfortable demons will emerge, which get me precisely when I'm alone, and that it will be really hard for me to deal with them and that I will fall apart. Also a great question, given the subject matter of today. And that's a valid concern, right? It's scary, these demons we have. And when we alone, those of us who, suffer from insomnia at times, and you wake up in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. and your mind starts racing and all these demons appear and you feel like, oh, I wish I can just go back to sleep, or you just get up and turn on the light and want to distract yourself. These demons do come up. And when we do quiet our mind, this again it relates to that other question. It's like a meditation is not escaping into some la-la land that's all fuzzy and wonderful with our favorite colors and so forth. It's actually coming in a direct relation with reality. It's coming into relationship with the world, aligning our awareness, our attention, our cognition with everything that is going on, and not avoiding. And so that could be hard. That requires courage. But if we don't turn towards our demons, if we keep avoiding our demons, they don't go away, unfortunately. They just stack up. They just crowd in the dark corners of our psyche. I don't mean to sound scary, but we have to work with our shadow, because it's not that we are not affected by that as long as we can suppress them successfully. Actually, these demons, these patterns that are lurking in the dark corners of our psyche actually impacts the way we act in life. They are driving our reactive patterns, our reactivity. And so dealing with them actually leads to liberation. And so that gives us incentive to apply that courage of working, facing our own demons. It's important work But there's a showing upness, a courageous showing upness that we all have in us. We have our nature of our mind arise and meet the challenges. And so do practice. Take care of yourself. Be safe. Be kind. Be compassionate for yourself. But do try and open up and sit and practice. And as they arise, open and be with them. Turn towards and just feel it. Just see if you can feel those strong emotions in your body without turning away or without going into storytelling about it. This is challenging, but try and just feel the feeling in your body. What does it feel like? The fear, the discomfort. Just feel it in your body without telling a story, without going into narrative. Just feel it. And then see if you can survive that. And mostly we can. We do. We can feel these emotions, actually. We discover that. And that gives us more courage. Okay, I'm going to end there. Thank you so much for your attention today. Remember the Feeding Your Demons online course starting September 17th. Find it on the website. Would love to see you there. We're actually looking forward. It's such a beautiful journey. There are level 2 and a certification training and a level, a couple of 3 and so forth. So you can always also continue if you're really captivated by this work, but you could also do level 1 and just have enough to start working with this method in your own life. And then also Skymind that was mentioned. That's myself and my partner, Charlotte Rotterdam. This is starting, it's an online course. It's only 2 hours every Sunday for 8 consecutive weeks, where we have a live webcast and we talk about Machig Labdrön, these pith verses that I used today. We have more of those. We talk about that. And we also talk about the use of attention and awareness to access the nature of our own mind and to how to relax into that open awareness practice and how to integrate that and apply that to everyday life. And this is really important to us. What's the use of talking about these mind-blowing concepts, but we do not actually know what it means in everyday life? How do we apply this? That's one of our focal points in this course, Skymind. So that starts on October the 2nd. So please join us for that as well. Thank you so much. And let's just dedicate the merit. So may any benefit, any merit, any insights through today, through this last hour, may it stay with us through this week and beyond. And may it also go out from here and benefit all beings everywhere. In particular, those that are most in need in this time of war and strife. May they be benefit. Emaho.
Thank you so much, Pieter, for supporting us in meeting our inner and outer challenges with compassion and mindfulness. May the teachings and practices you cultivate and share reach many and bring them peace and joy. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you.
Thanks, Drimé. It's my pleasure.
And dear audience, dear each and every one of you, it's so great to share this path. Thank you for your open heart and mind and for showing up. I'd like to remind you that you can make a dana offering to Pieter Oosthuizen. You've probably noticed that I shared a link in the chat already. And dana means generosity. It directly recognizes the precious gift of the teacher and the teachings, without which one could not practice the Dharma. Thank you, everyone, once again. May we meet again and again on the path, and may all beings benefit everywhere.
Om Tare Tu Re Mangalam Shri Mahapani Swaha Om Tare Tu Re